What's up, everybody out there listening right now? We are here, Sight School, another episode where we are teaching people to see. Got my man Joe over here. What's going on, Joe?
What's up, everybody? We're glad you got you back for this next episode. Lex, we're ready to get it in.
Absolutely. Glad that we have your ears, but most importantly, glad that we have your mind. That's what we're trying to get to right now, and changing these perceptions. Over the past couple times that we've had together, we've been talking about this idea of advocating and being a support system for those out there who are experiencing blindness and visual impairment. We talked about advocacy from, as an elementary kid, and then also moving into more of that high school, college type of area, if you will. But now, or actually, you know what? Did we talk about? We didn't talk about college, huh?
No, we hadn't gone to college. We kind of took them on a little ride. We took them, elementary, middle.
We definitely did high school, like middle school, high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think now it's that step. Adulthood, college, going into the workforce. It's a little more relevant. It's right now for us. Now, granted, we've taken a kind of a different path than the average person in general, but we've still been out there, in the real world.
Yeah. So certainly, as you continue to move forward, there's a lot of things out there to take advantage of and to access. But how was your college experience, Joe? What was that like from your perspective?
I'll be honest, man. I would say I was halfway prepared. And I think the other part was the mindset that I went into it. During going through school, grade school, I had great preparation. My family, also great preparation, but nothing can compare to you yourself being in that environment. So for me, I started off at Tennessee State. That's also where I was running track. But honestly, Lex, and it kind of goes back to that high school phase for me. I felt like I needed to do things to prove to people that I was just like them. I felt like I needed to go and just be everywhere, because I still wanted people to accept me without me truly being who I was. And I was coming out of it a little bit. I was becoming a lot more confident in who I was at this point, but there was still just that little bit of, I don't want to say reservation to be myself.
And you mean you wanted people who could see to accept you?
Yeah, I wanted people who could see to accept me. Now, granted, when I was at Tennessee State on the track team, there was another guy on the team who was a Paralympic athlete. Now, he wasn't visually impaired. He was an amputee athlete. So that really helped me to embrace my disability. Now, he had a disability that you could see just directly from looking at him.
Yeah.
We're at practice, okay, he puts his blade on, he's running. But for me, still, just at first glance, you don't see that. So then explaining, I'm a visually impaired athlete. But those situations helped me to be able to describe and explain my disability, my accommodations, and all of that. But it took time. It wasn't the first day of practice, I can tell you that. I mean,
who was that athlete?
That was Ryan Fan.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know he went to Tennessee
State.
Yeah,
hey, he got down. Come on, he was at HBCU. He did his thing.
Okay. And then, so when you say that you were going back to the college piece, when you say that you were halfway prepared, go into a little more detail. What you mean by that?
The other part of being prepared was just really, putting my advocating skills to test, and also just being willing, not even being willing, but just go ahead and submerging myself into a world that didn't understand. Because like I said, I had a great family support, and I was also at a school for the blind, but both of those situations already knew Joseph Gray. They already knew he has albinism, his vision impaired, he needs these things.
Right.
Me, myself, and it's not a knock on anybody, because, there's just so many things you have to do, but I honestly felt those first couple of days that I wasn't prepared, and a lot of it, Lex, was probably things I should have done myself. But I was used to being around people who knew, for the most part. Like I said in other episodes, some of my friends didn't really know and other things, but I myself was not prepared just for the unknown.
Right. I'm sorry not to cut you
off.
No,
go ahead.
I definitely think that I mean, I feel that in the sense of we get into these moments where I'll speak specifically for me. I think having to or getting to the point where you can truly embrace who you are and feel comfortable in your own skin and feel as though you don't have to conform to what other people say, what they expect, what they think and feel about you. And yeah, I think that I've certainly felt a lot of that as well, feeling the need to just act a certain way so
Mm-hmm.
people will accept you, if you will, instead of being yourself and you're stepping into the situation and giving out some some education, some understanding, and literally opening someone else's mind and perspective to how life may be for me or for you or anyone else out there who is like us. And I think the more that we can get out there and expose people to that, the the more we're able to kind of break down some of those barriers and biases and limitations that people have in their mind. Because when it comes to blindness, man, listen, people they have they have their idea of what it looks like: sunglasses, canes, and guide dogs.
And bumping into people.
Bumping into things. They expect you to do uh, to not be able to do certain things. And the more that we can go out there and be examples of what is really like and what it really is, I think the more people will truly understand that. Okay, but then again, I think that also boils down to everything that we've been talking about over the past week or so, and then now in college you got so much going on. You're trying to get an education. You're trying to build friendships. You're what, 17 to 21, 22 years old
Yep.
if you go to
Yep.
college right after high school. So like your life is changing. You want to have relationships and date and all this other stuff. Like, man, you got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So
But listen, and it's also going to play a huge factor while we're talking about this college aspect. A huge factor that's going to play depends on the type of university you go to. You
yeah,
know, your experience might be different from a community college than it would from a 4-year school, but then also from a private university to a state university.
yeah,
Some of those
yeah,
things, and this isn't bad, but sometimes there's just some things that you cannot prepare for.
yeah,
And something I wish I would have known when I was younger, or I guess really had a good grasp on, the expectation that people are going to have is that you can't. But that expectation that you can't is because they haven't seen anything else. You see, like they've never met anyone who's blind or
right,
visually impaired.
right,
So in their mind, it's, they feel like there's more work on their part. And that's something that now I strive to do. When I meet people, anything, I try to let it be known by my actions and my words that I can do these things.
yeah. I mean, man, because you have to open up your mouth and speak for yourself, and
Right.
ultimately that helps in the in the whole movement of being able to let the world know that, listen, being blind is not a death sentence. I mean, you can go out here and still live life successfully, and
Exactly.
yeah, and again, being able to speak for yourself and show what's possible. It just galvanizes this space and lets people know that, look, we deserve to be here just as much as the next person, and we can be out here doing amazing things and contributing to society just like the next person.
Exactly. Exactly. But also, what about, because, college isn't for everybody. So what are, especially for people who are vision impaired, what are those resources? Are there resources and programs for adults?
Yeah,
Also, some people lose their sight later in life, or
right.
some people lose their sight as a teenager going into adulthood.
Yeah,
What does that look like?
man. I had. I mean, of course, I'm known a lot of people who have experienced blindness at different points in time in life. One of my good friends was he was in high school when he began to lose his sight, and I think that it was pretty quick. I think it was, he was able to see, and then a few days later, he wakes up and he is not able to see as well. And I know he was able to transition pretty good. I know that there was some struggle and things like that associated with it, but he ended up going to the Paralympics and swimming, and I'm totally probably messing up his story. He can tell it better than what I can, but specifically, his name is Tucker Dupree, and he's from North Carolina also.
Okay.
And so his situation, was totally different, but he's very successful right now, has a job, holding it down, and he's doing phenomenal. But then to your point, you have someone who is, let's say they're in their 30s or 40s and they lose their sight at that time. I would imagine that is more difficult and is more challenging to lose your sight at a later age in life. You may have a job, you may have a family, kids, a wife, all of those things. And then to go into a world where you can't physically see them anymore with your eyes, I can't even imagine what type of depression and
devastating
emotions and feelings connected to that.
Especially when you don't know anything about that world. You see,
right.
When you, like you said, and we've talked about this before, we are so dependent on that visual aspect. And then you take that away. I like you said, I couldn't imagine with the sight that I have, I couldn't imagine, not having it.
Yeah.
Because, you've done, you for the most part, you've done everything.
Right. Right. And man, as a kid, and excuse me, as a kid, you admire children and their ability to adapt and be resilient. And when you experience it at an early age, it's almost like, I'm not going to say that it's easy because that's not the right word, but from a child's perspective, I think that when you experience it, it's like, okay, well, I've only been on the earth for a few years. This is my life. And this is essentially, this is all I know. Right. Whereas again, you talk about someone who's 35, 40, they've known 35, 40 years of being able to see. And now it's like, wow, okay, where do I go now? But did you have any, when we talk about the different resources available, did you have like a voc rehab counselor or was someone that helped you in college or, I'm not sure what they call them now.
No, you know what? I'm not 100% what they call them now, but yeah, I had a voc rehab counselor. And for those that don't know, it's vocational rehabilitation. This is a program that the state offers. And this program will help you transition into the workforce, transition into getting your education, but they will also help you in getting the adaptive technology that you need. And first of all, before I go into it, my suggestion is that everybody reach out to them to figure out what services can you get through them. And they will also pay for your education if you are going to a state university, or even, I think they even cover community college as well. But regardless, or if you're just going into the workforce and you are blind or vision impaired, you need to reach out to your state's vocational rehabilitation. Get you a counselor, get you an account going, set up, because they will help you get resources. For instance, I didn't finish school when I first started, but now as an adult, I'm in my 30s, I'm going back to school. They will, like for instance, for me, I got a laptop, which is something I really needed, free of charge to me. I got a laptop, I got magnifiers, I got all the accessible technology that I needed so that I can be successful. So coming out of high school, before you even get out of high school, you need to get that ball rolling your senior year. But my number one thing I would tell anybody when it comes to creating that relationship with their voc rehab counselors. Be persistent. Call, email. If you are able to get a ride up there, you can go there. I will go there, try to meet with your counselor face to face, because persistence is going to get the results that you need. Just because they're so busy, you may have one counselor for not even a county. You may have one counselor that's like 2 counties or 3 counties. So they have multiple people they're dealing with. So be persistent to get the things that you need. But yes, back to your question. I had a counselor. So they, put me in touch with the disabilities office on campus. So I was able to go there. I could tell them what my accommodations were, and they had a form they filled out. Then that form went to all my professors and instructors. They had it. So they knew, all right, Joseph Gray needs, A, B, and C.
Right.
But I think I can't stress it enough. You got to reach out to your state's vocational rehabilitation. Some states call it something else. They don't all call it voc rehab, but you need to reach out to your disability services for your state.
Yeah. Blind services, disability services, whatever that. Man, Google is a game changer.
Hey, nowadays there's no excuse with the internet.
Right. Yeah, and I totally remember college was, excuse me, man, I loved college. I had the disability support services. I could go to them and make sure that I had all of my books in an accessible format. So they were in PDFs, and I was able to read those on the computer. And on my computer, I had JAWS for Windows. I also had some.
Yeah, JAWS for Windows. What's JAWS?
JAWS for Windows. Install that program on your computer. It's a screen reader. It reads the elements of the screen so that you know what's going on in your Word document, your PowerPoint, your Excel document, your emails, whatever. JAWS is there to read the elements of the screen for you, and it's amazing. It's like the Nike of screen readers, right?
Oh, the Nike, just do it.
Exactly. So I had that, and I think the first month or so of college, I had an orientation and mobility specialist, and I know we talked about them being able to help you navigate and use the cane and just literally help you get from class to class and to the cafeteria and all of the places that you'll need to go to on campus and even off campus as well. Man, what else was there? Literally, I had a counselor who was there to give me that support. So to your point, I was able to get that computer. I was able to get a lot of those accessible pieces of technology programs that I would need to get my education. That helped me tremendously.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
How did you feel being away from home, being blind? Were you nervous? Were you what was your thought process going into that? And then the second part of that question, what advice could we give families for their now graduated high school seniors who are soon to be adults? What advice do we give them to help them prepare for that next step, college or the workforce? But first, what were your thoughts when you were going off to school?
My first thoughts were, man, I'm about to go to college. I'm about to be out here having a good time, having fun,
freedom.
And I had a lot of kids from high school who were going to East Carolina, and that's where I went for undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even before then, though, my mom had me involved in a lot of programs during the summer times when I was growing up. So I went to Camp Dogwood. I went to Camp Dogwood right out of Charlotte. Had a lot of fun there.
I know about Dogwood from working at the boys club. They love going out there.
Yeah, it's awesome. I want to go there and see how things have changed. It's been a while since I've been there last, but anyway.
I'll set that up.
Yeah. The fact that I was able to do a lot of those things growing up put me in a position where when it was time to go to college, I didn't feel like I would get homesick or miss it too much. Um, I was excited. I was thrilled to get out there and see what sorts of things were available, to see what that college experience would be like. And also, since I had other people who I knew were going there, it made it a lot easier as well, because I had some people that I could reach out to and say, hey man, this is, can you help me do this, help me do that, or how was your experience? And we can compare and contrast. And that first year, I had some of the kids I went to high school with, we had classes together. So East Carolina is a pretty big school.
Yeah.
Very large. So to be able to have some additional support from people who I was familiar with, that made the experience a lot more comforting. Um, and throughout that process, I was able to make more friends, and it just became a really great experience. And I would say honestly, and at the end of the day in college, that's where I was able to really mature from a social standpoint, and being able to find my voice and grow into um, just my just grow into myself and embrace myself and become more comfortable with myself.
What 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 can somebody do who's maybe shy, who wouldn't, who's shy and maybe they don't know anybody on campus? Because I feel like the both of us were blessed in a situation where when we went to school,
Yeah.
there was, more than one person that we knew going into that transition.
Yeah. You know what? When you go to college, there's so many different, I'm gonna call them resource groups, and they probably have a different title, but there's so many different groups out there that are focused on certain things. I know that at ECU there was a Black Student Union. There were so many different groups out there, and so I would say when you first get to school, to again do some research and seek out what is available in terms of extracurricular activities and different interest groups on campus, because there are people out there who have a lot of the same likes that you have. You have a lot of things in common. And so it's all about just, finding that connection so that you can build these relationships and feel a lot more comfortable when you're there, because it's a bad situation. It's a tough situation when you feel like you're alone and that no one can relate to you. And I get it. People are shy and timid and all of that. But when you are able to build some relationships with people and find people, first and foremost, who have a lot of the same things in common, that just makes life a lot more enjoyable and comfortable for you.
Now, what about going into the workforce? What uh what would that advice be?
Going into the workforce, I think that it would be, again, finding someone who can help you navigate that water. First and foremost, coming to a point where you know what you want to do so that you can narrow your search for whatever job it is that you're trying to find. And if you don't know what type of job that you want, or if you don't know what you want to do, let's sit down and have a conversation surrounding, all right, well, what'd you get your degree in? Or if you didn't go to college, what sorts of trades or skills do you have? And maybe there's a trade school, there's something out there. And there's a way that we can, tap into whatever your skill set is and your talents and your abilities, and you can use those in a way that will create and make a living for you. But certainly have to find that counselor, someone within a blind services or a vocational rehab services, and lean on them, ask questions, and figure out, okay, well, what's available to me? What can I access? what can I do moving forward so that I can get out here and survive on my own and be independent. You're an adult. You got to pay rent. You're going to eventually pay a mortgage. You'll probably have a family if that's what you want. But most at the end of the day, you're gonna have some bills. You're gonna have some things that you're gonna need money for.
Exactly.
So
And I'm hey, and in saying that, depending on Social Security to pay them bills, that ain't the way to do it. Now I
what do you mean by
understand because so for people who are blind and visually impaired, you are eligible for um, Social Security. It might have a different name now. It's been feel like so long since I had it, but I want to say it's from the age of 18 you're eligible to get money from the government.
that? Yeah,
I don't know what the max is, so I mean that's just something you have to look up. But you are eligible for a certain dollar amount of money every month to come from the government. And something that I've seen people get this money and then they sit back and think, oh well, I don't got to work.
sure.
I'm getting this check every month,
Right,
but really and truly, that check is nothing to live off of. Now I understand, you know, life is hard. We're gonna face some challenges that just seem like there's no way to get over.
right,
But that money should be used as a stepping stone towards something else.
right.
That money shouldn't be
Go ahead.
used. That money shouldn't be used as a support or something that you can lean on.
Preach on.
I mean, I've seen it from people that I know to have that becomes debilitating, worse than any disability that you could ever have.
Right,
The to not have the will to want more for yourself is devastating, and it tears me up to see, people, my fellow blind and visually impaired people in this community fall to that
yeah,
because we have so much to offer. Now, sometimes it comes from you don't you don't have those words of affirmation that you and I talked about. You don't have that support system around, and that's where some people don't have that in them to self motivate.
right,
And hopefully, we can be that motivation that they don't have because you have just as much to offer as everybody else,
yeah,
and you shouldn't feel less than that. But kind of going into the workforce. Let's say that vocational rehabilitation doesn't work out. Just saying as a scenario, you've got to find someone or some way to to fine tune those skills that we talked about, because everybody's good at something,
right,
and that those things that you are good at, figure out how do I go from being good to being better to being great at these things. There's nothing wrong with if you can only do one or two things, that's perfectly fine. But do those things to your best ability and shine from that.
right. And you know what? I mean, that's a really good point because if you find that one thing to hammer that point, that's all you need. If you can become the best in that one area, then it makes life so much easier because you're not out there with 2, 3, 4, 5 things trying to do them all at the same time and do this juggling act. You have one thing, your focus is narrowed, and you're saying, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a chef. I'm going to be a computer programmer. I'm going to be a lawyer or whatever it is. And you can put all of your effort and energy into becoming that one thing. And when you become so good in that one area, man, people, when they need information or when they need your services, they're going to say, oh, okay, I know I need to go to Joe. I know I need to go to Lex. I know I need to go to Vanessa, whoever.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, this is the person. They're the top of the class when it comes to disability rights and
right.
or accounting or whatever it is. So absolutely, that's a really good point. Whatever it is that you are good in, even if it is one thing, that's all you need is one thing.
And also think of it like this too. You become really good at one thing, right? 9 times out of 10, you're going to start to become good at things that are related to that.
Right.
You're going to start to realize, well, oh, you know, I can do this thing, and this will help me with this other thing that I've got going on. Yeah. And I feel like that's just something that, like I said, some people don't hear anyone tell them that. They don't see any examples of that. So they got to get it from somewhere. So, hey,
right.
Site school, we teaching y'all how to see these things.
See people, boy, come on, teaching people how to see these things. I want to circle back to that SSI situation, the Social Security situation. I know that you know that might ruffle some feathers, and I want to just be explicit in saying that it's certainly not to cast a negative light on on those types of government services, because we all need assistance at
most definitely
in life, right? But what Joe and I are talking about is you have teachers of the visually impaired, you have TVIs, you have orientation and mobility specialists, you have vocational rehab counselors and services for the blind, and so many different resources out there. And these people are put in place, they're hired so that you can find what it is that you're great at, and you can go into the community and find that job, whatever it is that you're looking for, so that you can live on your own and not have to resort to just getting that government check.
Because look at it like this, and I think this is the point that we're trying to make. Everybody doesn't need that assistance. So if we put ourselves in a position to where we use that government assistance as a resource to be something better, and then get off of that, those who truly need it will have it there for them with no issues, with no lag time. That's the point I'm trying to get at. And I feel so passionate about this from working in a school, from working with youth, not only from coaching, but literally being in a classroom and seeing the potential. And it's things that I heard, teachers and coaches and educators when I was young tell me. So now actually seeing that's why, I would tell, my athletes who were blind and visually impaired, it was more than just the sport. I wanted to take these principles from this, game or this sport or whatever, and apply that to life, that determination, that will to overcome, to be the best you that you could possibly be.
Absolutely. I can't even say anything else after that. I feel like, man, that's it. He hit that one out the park. Now, what can we leave everyone with in terms of what's the final hoorah, the curtain call when it comes to adulthood and being able to get out here and galvanize your space?
Find your passion. Once you find your passion, research it and truly understand what this is that you're passionate about, and constantly educate yourself on it. For instance, if you really enjoy, if you really enjoy listening to the radio, right? You really enjoy listening to, I'm talking about like the radio, where there's commercials, then there's music and there's shows, then figure out what is it about listening to the radio that you enjoy. Is it you enjoy the hearing the DJ, you enjoy the commercials, you like hearing the different types of commercials? Then let's say it's the commercials that you enjoy. So then figure out what is it about the commercial. You like the jingles, you like how they're put together, or do you like the advertisement? And then figure out, oh, well, maybe, I might have a skill in marketing some sort, or in advertisement, or I might want to be a DJ or be on the radio. But then it might not be those things. It might be the behind the scenes. So truly find out what it is that you're passionate about. And it takes time, but once you find it, man, I feel like that's a key to open all kind of doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is yours? what do you want to leave everybody with? Because I feel like, man, we got so much, and it's just bubbling over. We want to give them so much at one time, but what's your tidbit you want to leave them with?
I would say that at some point in time, you're going to be in college, you're going to graduate from college, or you're going to get into that trade, and you're going to be in the world, and it's going to be you, and you need to be able to fend for yourself, to survive, and to tap into that independent achievement. Um, it is crucial that you get out there and, to Joe's point, find your passion, tap into that, act on it, and turn that into something that you can live off of, and provide for yourself and others off of that. Because a lot of the conversation that we've been having over the past few shows is literally being that voice, being that example for those who will come after us, and for those who are currently here, and for those who may not understand. And the more that you can do that, the more eyes that we open, the more minds that we open, the more understanding that we have across the board. And when we have that, I think that, we can truly be able to get out here in the world, occupy this space, have equal opportunities, and be able to enjoy this life that we have, and truly show the world that, I say it a lot, that there is no need for sight when you have a vision.
Come on, hey, listen, we started a wrestling tournament back in Tennessee and came up with the slogan, "You don't need sight to see success."
That's it. Hopefully, that opens some conversation. Hopefully it will open some dialogue for each of you out there. And Joe, where can they find us at? You have any questions, have any comments? Where can they find us?
All right, so first, send your questions to thesiteschool@gmail.com. That is thesiteschool@gmail.com. But right now, you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. So we need you to do three things. Listen to these three things. We need you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, comment below. We're going to read the comments. You might give us a topic for the next episode, and then subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on, so as soon as the Site School episode comes up, you'll know it. So please do those things for us.
Awesome. We appreciate you listening. We'll holler at y'all later. Site School, we out of here.
Peace out.